Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for another edition of the QGEA Showcase. We've got a very short one today, just to give you a brief update on what's been happening and what is going to happen with the QGEA. So before we get started, I'll just pay my respects to the owners and custodians of the lands which we're meeting from today, and to elders past and present, and any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander folk with us on the call today. Well, thank you, everyone. So, as I said, a short meeting today, and we're just going to give you a bit of an update on what we've been up to. And something of interest is the consultation releases. So we've had a lot of talk at the last showcase and on Yammer around what we're planning for the rest of the year. So we're going to take you through a high-level view of what we'll be doing. And so first off, you may have seen announcements for these, but if you haven't, we've got two new recent publications that have made it through the consultation process and are now officially published on 4Gov under our QGEA documents. So the first of those, I think we had a guest visit around AI a couple of showcases ago, but you'll be happy to know that the use of generative AI in Queensland Government guideline is now available. The link will be live in the deck when this is released, but you can also search for it on the 4Gov site. And also, we've got a guideline around the metadata scheme for Queensland Government data assets. So those are now published and formal, and you'll be able to have a look at them on 4Gov. At the moment, we're still in formal consultation until the end of this month on the 25th for those two pieces around the digital community engagement, so the policy and the guideline. So if you haven't seen those yet, feel free to have a look at 4Gov. We've got the consultation pack released there, and to put your comments in from your department in the formal feedback process. You might see there's a little reminder, no October formal consultation. So we touched on this briefly at the last showcase, and we did say that we would run a poll, which we did on Yammer. So thank you very much to those that have responded. And what we've done is basically taking that poll plus some of the feedback on that hypothetical schedule that we were looking at some weeks ago. We've come up with this for the rest of the year. So we listened. Thank you very much for all your feedback and your thoughts around, particularly around the idea of an extended informal consultation. We've got a couple of very exciting pieces coming through the QGA, excuse me, and we really want to give you the time to look at that, to see how that would be implemented in your organisation, and to give us the feedback that we're looking for during informal. So what we've plotted out for the next 3 months is this. So September, so by the end of this month, you will see the technology classification framework come in its proper informal consultation package. So that will be the working model, an editable version of the model for those who are interested in tinkering and seeing if you can import that into your environments. We will also have a document outlining the definitions. And we'll also have a spreadsheet that looks at the mappings between this version of the technology classification framework, so it'll be version 5, and the previous one, version 4 from 2011. So to give you a chance to test out those mappings and make sure that they're going to work in your environments. So that will be the bundle around the technology classification framework. We will also have hopefully a bit of a guide document to say what the implementation schedule for that is. So we're not necessarily expecting it to be big bang. There might be some things which we can do big bang, where we can map on behalf of agencies from one classification version to the other, but we'll put that into the guidance documents for that release. In October, we're going to be looking at the business capability reference model. So thank you again for the feedback that's come back while that's been in beta. To our local government agency colleagues on the call, you'll be happy to know that we're formulating the guideline that has come out of our workshop. So that'll be going to you separately, just for a bit more of a beta, and then that'll get bundled in for the October release into informal consultation for the business capability reference model. Because this is a new artifact, there won't be any mappings from that to previous things. However, we will include some commentary on how this might impact existing QGEA classification frameworks, such as the business service classification and the application classification. And we will also have definitions and everything to accompany the model. And then in November, some of you who are members of the QGEA community of practice might be aware that there's been some discussions around a meta model for Queensland Government and doing EA in Queensland Government. And that started off with an industry standard, so TOGAF being an open standard. So we've been doing an exercise with the EA practitioners to say, if we took TOGAF as a starting point, what are some synonyms that would apply inside the Queensland Government? So for example, TOGAF might have something like physical application component. We might just want to call that simply application. TOGAF might have something like work package, and we might want to call that an initiative or a project or a program, which fits in with our existing program and portfolio management policies and practices. So that mapping is in progress at the moment, so it's still kicking around in very early draft. But what I will do after this showcase is I will do a cross-link in Yammer. We did post it over in the QGEA COP community thread, but we'll just do a cross-link into the QGEA reference group. So if you're having a look at this recording and this slide deck, you'll also have a link through to that. And then what we are also planning to do with that meta model mapping is match that to two known tools that are strong contenders in Queensland government agencies, one being Orbis iServer 365/Orbis Infinity, changed the name this year, and the other one is LeanIX. So what we have done with our practitioners is had a chat to those who are using those tools in earnest in their agencies and said, okay, what's the equivalent object in those meta models, and how would you then be able to implement a meta model in a repository if you had one? But if you don't, at least we can put together a guide to say, here's how you should define some important objects within the organisation to enable EA to happen. So that's the plan. Just have a look, see if there are any questions up in the chat. If anyone's got some questions around those three pieces and the timing, please let me know. And as I said, the formal consultation for those, we're aiming for the first formal consultation in 2024, which is February. Todd, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hi Nicole, morning all. Just on that last point of getting the mapping of the meta model to the LeanIX and Orbis, whatever it's called today, product, is it worth actually, once the meta model's kind of relatively static, going to the vendors and getting them to do that mapping? Because I appreciate that in different agencies, the implementations of those tools might be different.
Yeah, that's a good point, Todd. And so at the moment we are just working internally, but at a certain stage, yes, we can confirm that with the vendors themselves. I believe, for example, Orbis actually does have a mapping document within their support box that says how their core EA model maps to TOGAF. So we've just referenced that as part of and going, well, that's what the vendor says they do. LeanIX is a little bit more complicated because they have quite a proprietary model. So that might be worth touching base with them and saying, hey, we've done this preliminary mapping. Basically, is this how you would see someone who is TOGAF compliant using your tool? So yes, that's a good point, and we can certainly take that one up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. David.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. First of all, it's really good. Looks awesome. On the business capability reference model, I know that the early beta version was available. Do we have a more developed version that we can get a hold of before then, if possible?
When you say more developed, what were you hoping to see, David?
If it had work done on it and stuff like that, and the guidelines. It's just that we'd started kicking off a little bit of a business capability reference model ourselves. So before we go too much further with that, if there's been any sort of changes from that early beta version, it would be good to see.
Yeah, well, no. So there's been no major change. So if you had started playing with the beta and perhaps using it as a starting point for a capability model, not much impact at all. We might have tidied up some of the wording, as in make sure all the sort of the format of each of the headings is the same, fixed up some spelling here and there, but the actual like number of boxes on the page is still the same.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the number of top level and child or shared child is very much the same. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? No? Okay. Was there any general business anyone wanted to raise? Question for maybe a future showcase? Okay, then. Well, we'll let you get back to your Thursday. Thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. As always, the recording and the slide deck will be available on Yammer. And as I said, I'll do a cross post of that meta model so you can see it if you haven't already. And as also always, those who perhaps don't have Yammer access will get copies to you shortly. Thank you all. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.